Pudge, are you gonna come say hi? I just scarfed down a pizza at Olympic speeds, Olympic level speeds. Hopefully my camera works wonders today because it is very dark. Probably can't tell, but it is an hour and a half till sunset and we are losing daylight. So, hi guys, welcome back to another video. I am joined here with my trusty pug Pudge, who may stay with me for the duration of the video, maybe not. Is that an eye boogie? So we're back. We're back. Can you hear me? I just have a few housekeeping things to go through as quickly as possible before we get into this video. If you are one of the lovely people who always reminds me that my intros are too long and it makes you very angry, first off, that is a you problem, not a me problem. And let me remind you that there is a scroll bar. You can fast forward as much as you want to your heart's desire. You can even watch these videos on like 4 times speed or something, or 2 times or 4 times speed. So anywho, I was gonna do a video, actually wait, rewind. 8 months ago, I posted this video called Glowing Up These 7 Plants. I think I may have jinxed myself because that went to absolute crap. So I was gonna do a 6-month update, but there was really not much to update on because they were just all doing so terribly. So really quickly, we're gonna go through each of those 6 and I will tell you why in a bit. Where is my list? Where is my list? Oh, here. Okay, so there was there were 6. So the first one was a Gloriosum Verde, and I'll scoot over and throw in the footage here. This one was overtaken by spider mites. I couldn't be bothered with it. I chopped it back down to a stump and it is now still a stump in my prop box. So that one is really no longer with us. My Passazenum Silver, that one, I don't remember when I would have shown it last, maybe in a week of plant to-dos, but I tried everything with that plant and I really gave it my all. I did several repots. I tried so many different substrates, different environmental conditions, and that thing hated me. So you know what? I was like, if you don't want to be with me anymore, then you can just go bye-bye. So she did. That one's no longer with us. There was a Philodendron Rubrosynctum Platinum, which I recently threw away because it also was just growing like crap for me no matter what I did. Drainage holes, no drainage holes, soil, perlite, pond, water, tent, exo, shelf, did not like anything. So again, just no one has time for that. So she also went away. My Soderoy Af is no longer with us because of same reasons. I swear it's just like I get these duds that I just can't figure them out, and I'm just in a place right now, or I've been in a place honestly for maybe half of this year where I'm like, if it's not a plant that I am like I can't live without, then I'm not gonna bother, because I'm spending time and resources and things on these plants when I can be putting that towards other plants that actually are doing well and that need my attention. So she's also gone. And then I have 2 other plants from this list. My Philodendron Tenu, which will be featured in this video. I'll just pull that one out first. And then my Patriciae, which is not being featured in this video but is still with us. So I wanted to talk about this first because obviously I'm not going to be doing any kind of update really on that video. I had this thing in my mind where I was like, you know, I'm going to post this video and then every 6 months I'm going to show them glowing up and we're going to just, you know, we're going to watch them just like turn into these beautiful specimens together. And then it kind of just went the other way. So unfortunately there will be no update to that video, but I will show you one of the plants from that list, and then again my Patty, she's somewhere in this house. So yeah, today's video is basically going to highlight some of my favorite glow ups from 2022. I think I have 9 plants to show you today, and I just kind of want to show you like sort of the progression of their growth from 2021, or when I first would have acquired them, show you some growth from over this year, and then show you where they are now. So we're gonna just start with the first one, which is the philodendron tenue. Before I show you guys this plant, I'm gonna pop in some photos here, and I actually am prepared for this part. Oh my gosh, Sherman. Okay, here we are. Oh, I actually don't have much to show you. So I'm just gonna pop in some footage of the philodendron tenue that I captured in that video I was talking about, the glow up plants. And I actually had 2 tenues. I still have both. One of the tenues from this video is still kind of she's looking some type of way, and I just really don't want to even give her any time of day in this video. But the second tenue is the one that I got from Alice. So you can see in the footage, it was just kind of like a wee little thing, nothing really special going on. And Alice and I both kind of had trouble historically trying to size these plants up. They always sort of stayed around the same leaf size. And I think this year, I've just really gotten comfortable in my fertilization routine, in just kind of knowing when it's the right time to fertilize, when I should give them a more full strength fertilization over my weekly sort of super diluted fertilization. I'm getting more comfortable with knowing when a plant specifically needs CalMag. The lazy poles this year have just been a game changer for me. I feel like I owe a lot of the success of so many of my plants that have grown really large to the lazy pole. So yeah, anyway, here is the philodendron tenue now. I'm gonna try to not show you the most recent leaves because I don't want to spoil it. You can kind of see where we started. All of the leaves at the bottom are really tiny, and I would say maybe this leaf right here is sort of what I was dealing with for a really long time. I couldn't seem to size it up out of this size here. It just like, no matter how much it rooted into the pole, no matter what kind of conditions I was giving it, it just always sort of stayed this size, and I was getting quite tired of it. I was getting sort of bored with it, to be like fully honest. But then, you know, the lazy pole came around, and I started giving it more attention and care, and I did start seeing some leaf size growth over the last few months. I'll show you this one right here. This is the first one where I was like, oh, actually no, it was this one where I was like, okay, I think we're getting somewhere, because this one is larger obviously than that one, but I still wasn't convinced it was gonna get any larger than this. And then this leaf came out, and then this one, which has sort of these like lopsided wonky lobes, but it's still so cute. But you can see it's definitely gaining some length. And then this is the most recent leaf. I'm hoping to not break it or rip it, but yeah, look at her, she's gaining some size. I think it's kind of silly, like if you know are growing your tenue really large, because this is really tiny compared to like the really mature specimens. But this one I'm specifically proud of, just because I've found it to be sort of a more difficult grower in terms of it kind of reminds me of the Soderini a little bit, where it can get stuck in this really weird preteen phase. So for me, the trick was a pole, obviously. You can see I have it on a lazy pole. It's super duper rooted in there. It's in no drainage, in just soil. Like I mentioned before, besides the lazy poles and the CalMag, I feel like another reason this year has been really good for me and my plants is Mycorrhizal inoculants. Thanks to Alice. I know Myco has sort of been around for a long time in the hobby, in the community, but I feel like it wasn't really talked about a lot until Alice started talking about it and started using it. So very grateful to have such a nerdy friend like her, because I do notice that a lot of my plants this year, they're just more hardy, they're more resilient. I feel like given the pest outbreak I had this year, if all of my plants didn't have mycorrhizal inoculants, I feel like so many of them would be like dead right now, or would have thrown more of a fit than they did. A good example is my glorious. That one was overtaken by spider mites like crazy, and besides the sort of physical cosmetic damage, I feel like the leaf has sort of retained that green color and just its overall health despite having pests a lot better than a plant would have been, like, I guess in early 2021 or 2020, like before I was using Myco. So I do think it just makes the plant stronger overall, and that's helped me so much in terms of trying to get caught up with like, you know, fighting off these pests. So this is a plant that I just feel like really benefited from all of these, you know, factors that played into like the success of a lot of my plants this year. So I am really excited about this plant again. I'm feeling more hopeful that we can actually gain some size without it taking 5 million bajillion years. The stem is getting thicker. It's still not like super duper thick, but it's most definitely thicker than when we started. And I talked about this in another video where you can sort of see like your plant growth, not just based on like the leaves, but like you want to look at the stem. So, and even if you, and it's not guaranteed, but in my experience, I've noticed that like the larger the stem, the larger the new growth is when you propagate it, or like the larger it sizes up, or the faster it sizes up with a thicker chunk. That's probably common sense, but just thought I'd mention it. So anyway, yeah, I've blabbed so much just with this one plant, but I'm just thrilled to have it. I love seeing like these ribs on this plant. It doesn't have like the most wonderful leaf texture. It's not super like smooth. It does have sort of a, not a velvety, but like a, I wish there was a word that I could think of. It feels, I guess, kind of like a pastazanum, and it's so sticky. Yeah, it feels like a pastazanum and has more of a matte texture, and it's just really nice. So yeah, hopefully I can keep the growth on this in 2023 and have something that looks more ginormous, but of course we're taking it one day at a time. I'm not trying to get too ahead of myself, and we're just gonna see how it goes. She's so pretty. So the next plant is my philodendron tortum, and I'm gonna be looking at my phone because we're gonna be looking at the same photos together. Let's go to the first one, which was taken on February 12th, 2021. This is when I would have first acquired it, and I actually acquired it before this. I think I got it maybe in January or even like December of 2020. I can't remember. It definitely wasn't in February of 2021, because when I got this plant, I believe it only had like 2 leaves. It was really tiny, and I didn't only take a photo of it until February because it was kind of showing more what it was. So this is how small it was. And then the next photo was from July 4th, 2021. You can see it's definitely starting to gain some size. Did someone just give me $100? Oh my gosh, that scared me, you guys. It's only $10, okay. I got so scared. I didn't even know this, that people can just like give you money on YouTube, like on videos, they can like donate, just give you like money. And I thought it said $100. I just like could not accept that kind of money. I just couldn't. I was gonna quickly try and figure out how to give it back, but it's only $10. Thank you. $10 is great. Please don't ever give me $100. That's just way too much money. Okay, back to where we were. So you can see in July, it's looking more like a tortum. She's starting to get bigger. And then next one is a month later, August 11th. It's gained one more leaf since then. And then here's the first photo I took of it in January of this year. A lot more bushy for sure. You can see how many leaves there are, but I'm trying to remember. I think this is when I would have still had 2 plants in it. Let me see, hold on. I just gotta refresh my memory really quick. I filmed that video with my mom where I said I would give her any plant. Oh, January 22. Oh, okay. So I took this photo January 8th, 2022, and my mom would have come shortly after and I would have given her one of the plants, but I gave her the one that I wasn't documenting. It was the smaller of the 2. So anywho, the next photo is from March 20th, 22. It's got a much larger wingspan. The leaves are just larger in general. The next one is from the next month. Not too much of a difference, but yeah, it's just looking a lot bigger. And then the last photo is from August of this year, and you can see sort of how much bigger these new emergent leaves are than, you know, what was coming out before. So it's just been such a great, oh, it's so dark out here. It's just been such a great year for my tortum, and I really am just sort of blown away at how large it's grown. Here is, sorry, it's got a sort of weird situation. I'm gonna try to not be so loud, but here is my tortum now. Oh, can you see it? Can you see it? Okay, sorry, we've got a busy background, but here it is. It's like, it's large, you guys. She's looking like the tortum that I've always wanted, and I'm just so proud. I always sort of minimize, I guess, the glow up of it because it's always grown inside of a greenhouse, and I don't know why, I just sort of have this mentality sometimes that like growing in a greenhouse is like cheating, but it's really not, you know. Like we grow plants in all different conditions, and I think one of the most magical things about this hobby is that, you know, we get to experiment with growing in different environmental conditions and observing how well or how poorly they grow. And, you know, as much as I would love to take this out of my tent, which I have done before for a very small amount of time and then I chickened out and put it back, I just am really happy with how it's growing. So I feel like if it's going so well, why change things? Why risk it? But because it's starting to outgrow the tent, I think I'm going to take advantage of the fact that the internodes are much longer now, and I'm gonna start air layering it. I think I'm gonna do it after the holidays when I get back, and I'll show you guys how I air layer this guy so that it's easier to chop. And then I will have another tortum that I can try growing out here. This is one that I have been anxiously waiting to propagate for, I don't know, at least a year. I've just, you know, sort of waited until the internodes got longer. I was pretty lucky before where like the nodes were really tight and it was growing really compact, but I'm definitely starting to see the internode length now. And as sad as I am that it might start becoming a little bit leggy, I am grateful that now I can propagate it a lot more easily and without, you know, risking losing a cutting because of a rotten node or something. But yeah, she's a beauty. I just love her so much, and I think this is my favorite philodendron in my whole collection. Like if I had to just choose one philodendron to keep, I think it's this one. It's just so unique. It's so fun. I just love everything about it, and I feel like everyone should have a tortum. You know, like the nice big leafy philodendrons are great, but when you have something like this to sort of break it up, it's just incredible. And this new emergent leaf is looking so chunky. I think this is like the fattest emergent leaf I've ever had on this plant. They're not usually this fat, but yeah, I think she's gonna be a big one. So one last look at my tortum, and oh my gosh, it's gonna be nighttime. We might have to move into my plant room, you guys. The next two are pretty much the same thing. We're gonna be looking at my soderini, my philodendron soderini, and my variegated soderoy. So let's do the soderini first. I know that I just sort of went down memory lane with my soderini in a recent video, but we're just gonna quickly do it again in case you didn't watch that video. So the first photo here is from June of 2021, and you can see it's still in moss. It's just like this little teeny tiny thing. And then, sorry, you guys can probably hear Pudge freaking snoring in the bedroom. The second photo is from September of 2021, and it's the one on the left side with the moss pole. Oh, there's 3 moss poles. It's the one closest to the camera. So this is when I first got it onto this sphagnum moss pole. Up until this point, it was just kind of growing freely. It wasn't growing on anything, but I just noticed that the leaves were all facing forward, and it was a good opportunity to just get a pole right up against the back, which was like the best thing I ever did. Photo number 3 is from January of this year. So it's the first photo I would have taken in 2022 of this plant, and still kind of a small leaf, but it's looking a little bit more mature than it was previously. And then in June of this year, I noticed that the leaves were getting a lot longer. The venation, or like, you know, the ribbing on it was getting more pronounced. And at this point, it was still just on I think it was on my netted lazy pole. And then this last photo is from September of this year, and she's just looking like a soderoy. So we've come very, very far with this plant, and I feel like I've shown this so many times on this channel, but this is where we are. I recently chopped it, which is why she looks like a little tree. The leaves are pretty much like I showed you in the last photo. This is the newest leaf to come out on it, and it's quite small, but I was sort of expecting that, given that it just recently went through a transition. It got on a new pole, it got it in new pants, and it's just in perlite right now, like a very, very heavy, a very coarse perlite with a Lechuzapon pole, which is why I'm trying to not move this thing around too much because they're gonna come spilling out everywhere. But like, look at how pretty these leaves are. I'm just so happy that now I have just a regular soderoy without like the weird variegation. This one, it's weird, but it's growing a lot faster than my regular soderoy. I don't know if it's because I'm just giving it more attention or what, but they're getting the same fertilization, getting the same environmental conditions. They're literally in the same exo, but this one has just been growing like so freaking fast. I just love this plant so much. So the leaves are still quite small in comparison to what like a mature soderoy looks like, but I think 2023 is gonna be the year that we have like a real looking soderoy. And then the next one is my variegated soderoy. So I'm gonna scooch you over again. First photo is from March of 2021. When I acquired this plant in 2020? Yeah, I think I got this plant in 2020. It was actually bigger. The leaves were like even larger than my soderini. I had chopped it so many times. There were a lot of friends who wanted it. A lot of my friends didn't have soderoy at the time. So yeah, I was just very generous and chop happy with it. So I kept chopping it, and you know, we sort of stunted, well, I stunted the growth a little bit. So it was pretty small back in 2021. And then this next photo is from June of 2021 when I finally got it onto a pole. And you can see back then I was still using just like the regular sphagnum moss wrapped poles. And then this next photo is from September of 2021, and it's there on the right side in that little square pot, and it's not looking much different than the photo before. It was kind of stunted in its growth, like I said, and the growth was just so slow, like it wasn't doing anything for a long time. And then this last photo is from December of 2021, and it's grown like I think 2 or 3 more leaves since the last photo. The newest leaf on in this photo has like 0 variegation, and I feel like this is kind of what this plant has been doing for me historically up until recently, where the damaged DNA was just so bad I had to chop it back. I really didn't document this plant at all this year. I don't know why. I can't even remember like what videos I would have shown it like on this channel. I don't know why. I feel like I've been so sort of like wrapped up in my Soderini that this guy sort of just took a back seat, but he has grown. He's just like a little dwarf guy. Like he doesn't want to size up at all. But like I mentioned, he had a little stint with just too much of this like damaged DNA to the point where like I didn't even want to look at it anymore. So I chopped off the top. You can see right here where it's missing, and then 2 growth points activated. And I don't know if this has just been the experience for me, but I noticed that when I chop the top off of a plant or I just propagate it in general, if there are 2 growth points that activate at the same time, usually only one will make it and then the other one will sort of like self-abort. But in this case, both of them actually just kept growing. So there's one new plant here. So these 2 leaves, this one and this one, is 1 growth point. And then the second growth point has these 2. So this leaf here, which is so freaking cute, and then this one that hasn't really unfurled just yet. And then on the old plant, the last leaf would have been this one here. So it's really bushy, like it's gonna be like this huge weird thing. So I'm gonna have to figure out what's gonna happen soon. I don't plan on separating the 2 growth points because I do kind of like that it'll be bushy, but I'm just not sure what the moss pole situation is gonna look like if we have like essentially like 3 separate branches on it. But we're gonna worry about that later. I just wanted to include it because I feel like she hasn't really gotten the attention that she deserves. Even if her leaves haven't sized up, she's so cute. She's like this little like dwarf Soderini tree, and she's so bushy. I mean, I guess it sort of works for me because I've been able to keep her in my exo all year and not have to worry about like acclimatizing her out of the greenhouse. But of course I'd love to see some size growth, although now that I have my Soderini, that's basically a big old Soderoy, I can fulfill my satisfaction that way and then just keep this guy growing like a little bush. But yeah, he makes me really happy. I do have to sort of keep an eye on this weird damaged DNA. It does give me like the occasional just regular leaf with no weird variegation or whatever, and then there's some leaves that are just like super duper sickly looking, like this guy here. I wish I took a photo of what the top looked like before I chopped it, but I was just so anxious to get it out of my life. I did it pretty like in a rush. So anywho, moving along. The next one is my Hoya avovada. I acquired this plant, it was like the beginning of this year. I think I got it in like January. Yeah, January. And it just started as like little tiny cuttings. I got it in like a 6-inch pot, and there were like multiple plants in one pot. I did separate some out and only kept a few, but none of them were like really large. They were all just sort of like 1, 2, or 3 leaf cuttings on each. And then this photo kind of shows the beginning of new growth since I had it repotted. Oh, my hands are sticky. Yeah, still like a really small plant, mostly just single and double leaves. But this is sort of the start of when I started seeing some actual growth in my care. And then next photo is from March. You can kind of see how quickly it had grown since January when I first acquired it. And then this last photo is from September of this year. I do have it on an architrellis. I repotted this thing or potted it on camera. I can't really remember which video it would have been, but it's just grown so much. Like, to think of it, it's still in the same pot that it was from January, so it's been in the same pot, hasn't changed. But you know, we didn't really have much trailing out of that pot when I started. This is the Hoya avovada today. Before I was a Hoya owner, I always assumed that Hoyas just like didn't grow and they gave you like 1 new leaf a year, but that is not true. They can actually grow pretty fast if they're happy, and it's not like a philodendron or an anthurium. like they'll put out like 5 to 10 new leaves at once. So there's like a different kind of excitement with Hoya growth, and it's just a different experience for me in comparison to like my aroids. But yeah, just having this Hoya specifically has just been so rewarding, and this one is always pushing out like new leaves. I really want to wrap this around, but I'm kind of scared because it's like so rigid and they snap so easily, so I'm just kind of letting it do its own thing. But what you guys really couldn't see in the photos is that there's so much new growth in the back as well. Like all of this started from this leaf right here, and all of this here is brand new. All of these leaves back here in the back are brand new. And my goal for this plant was to have it sort of half trailing, half half climbing, half trailing, so that we get like this big beautiful thing. But it seems like it's just going upward. This one has grown a lot this year, so I had to include it. I think it's the only Hoya in this video. It was a toss-up between this and my Callistophila, but since I just sort of talked about my Callistophila recently, I just decided this guy can have his time in the spotlight. Next one on the list is my philodendron Mycans. I had to include this. I had to. This is like one of my first sort of unusual plants that I've ever owned, and it's just been so good to me. I actually haven't been documenting this plant a lot this year, and I didn't realize it until I started putting this video together. So let me just show you what it looked like back in June of 2021, and this is sort of the peak of its thrips outbreak. I think this was the first thrips outbreak that it had. There has since been 2 others since then. I just kind of always expect that that plant will get some kind of thrips or freaking, I don't know, spider mites or something. But she's resilient. She doesn't care. She really doesn't. This next photo is from February of this year, and this is after I would have given it like a massive haircut. I think I've chopped this plant since I've had it. I've chopped it maybe, I want to say 15 times. I'm not joking. And when I chop it, I like really chop it, like at least like 3 or 4 feet every time. Because it's had thrips and because it's such a large plant, I don't really document it on Instagram or even on this channel a lot because it's hard to maneuver around. It's hard to just show it in general. It's one of those plants that just kind of stay put where it's at. It just lives there, and I don't forget about it, but it's not a plant that I'm always like, oh, I'm gonna go haul it over and bring it in front of the camera. But today we will do that. Here is what she looks like right now, and I'm gonna try my best to kind of show you guys how enormous it is. Ugh, she's big. Look at her. Let's go back here. She's massive, and this is why I can't really show this plant a lot, because she's got a lot of length, and there's a lot of those like sheaths, like the old sheaths. Yeah, it just crumbles and falls everywhere. So whenever I take this plant out, there's just like a trail of little sheaths everywhere, dried sheaths. So now that we have captured sort of the enormousness of it, whew. Again, like I mentioned, a lot of regular haircuts is how I keep it really, really full and bushy, because when you chop really high, it activates those axillary buds and then it fills in the areas that get really patchy. I recently inoculated this with great white, not recently. I would have inoculated with this plant with great white back in the summer, and ever since then, the new leaves that have come out on it are so huge and dark. Like all of this here, these are brand new leaves that have just like activated from axillary buds, and they're like palm, like some of them are palm size, like they're really big. Wait, where's that really big one that I saw the other day? I was like, holy smokeroonies. Can you guys tell how like out of breath I am? I wish I had someone to help me here to show you guys the enormousness of this. But anyway, just if you look at some of these new leaves, they're just big, you know, because sometimes you see new leaves and they're like really tiny like that, but all of the new growth has been coming in so freaking large. And yeah, it's not really sort of what's the word? What's that word? Scraggly looking anymore. Like if you look at that photo from when I was holding it, there were like a lot of empty patches, and that's because I had just given it a haircut. But once you chop like in the middle, it just grows back so full. So the next time I give this a haircut, I'll probably chop here or here and chop all of this off down here. I have to put this down. Oh my gosh, there's sheets everywhere. It is like pitch black here. I know it doesn't look like that in the viewfinder, but it's so dark right now, so I'm gonna try and get through these last two really fast. I said that I had 8, I think, but I only had 7. So we're going to talk about the philodendron Jose Guano, not mine, my little tiny one, but the one that I have been caring for my neighbor basically all year. Sorry, I'm trying to find my notes. I'm very disorganized right now. So I think I acquired this plant from him, not acquired, but I think I temporarily adopted this plant from him early in the summer. So the first photo that I have of it is from June of this year, and you can see it's I mean, it's a pretty good size already. Like I think a lot of people in this hobby would consider that like a medium size Jose Guano. It's got really speckled variegation. The leaves are all kind of the same-ish size. And then the next photo that I have of it is a photo I took recently from October. And that was the first leaf in my care that really wowed me in terms of the leaf size and the variegation. It's just like so beautiful. I love those polka dots. I think the Jose Guano has one of the nicest variegation out of all of the variegated plants out there. So since that photo, I think it was it this leaf from that photo? Is it this one? Yeah, it's this one. Okay. So this is that leaf from October. You can see that the white variegation hardens off to a green eventually. And then this leaf came out here. And then this one more recently. And it's really long now. Like it's looking like a really big Jose Guano. Like, yeah. And then this, I kind of wanted to wait until this leaf fully unfurled to film this video, but my California trip is approaching so quickly that I really can't waste a single day for filming. It's funny because Nick, who owns this plant, he was like, hey, do you still have my Jose Guano? And I was like, yes, no, yes. I was like, you're not getting it back right now, dude. I was like, I'm too invested. I need to see this through. I at least want to see it go into like the really, really mature lobes where it's like a full like lobe, and then he can have it back, and then I can refocus on my small one. But I've just been really invested in the growth of this because when he gave me the plant to care for, the leaves were like actually not even that big. Yeah, they were about that big. Most of them were like around this size and this size. So we've definitely come a pretty solid way since then. And this thing is super duper rooted into this pole. I do plan on just adding an extension on top and not repotting it because this one is not root bound at all, and I just don't want to disturb it if it doesn't need to be disturbed. So we're just gonna keep building on it. Man, I am just so pro Jose Guano now. There was like a point in time where I was like, it's okay, it's not that great, but now that I own it and now that I see this one, I can't imagine not having one. And even growing them from like small chunks, they're so cute. The little baby Jose Guano leaves, adorable. The last one I'm gonna show you guys is my Anthurium hoffmanii X. And this is an import from either early 2021 or late 2020. I can't remember, but this is another plant I haven't really been documenting this year, mostly because I moved all of my anthuriums out in February, and it's just been sort of an uphill battle with all of my anthuriums since then. The first photo I'm gonna show you is from June of 2021. This is probably one of the first emergent leaves in my care, or maybe second or third. I wouldn't have had it for very long before this, I don't think. And then this next photo is from September of 2021. It's definitely sort of like shaping up into something special. But then it was kind of downhill from there when I moved it out of a greenhouse. So this footage is from my 6-month shelf update, and I don't remember what it looked like in the shelf update. I'm just gonna throw it up anyway. So that's sort of the progression of this plant, but she's now sort of fully acclimatized to the conditions in the plant room, and she's doing quite well. I did show this recently in a video, so I'm not gonna go too in depth, but here is the oldest leaf on it. And then, actually this is the oldest leaf. Oldest leaf, second to oldest leaf, all grown in my plant room. Third, ooh, got some mega size. And then here's the new one. You can see how floppy this one is in the back, but it's huge. It's definitely gonna be bigger than this one here, which I predicted just based on how the emergent leaf looked, like how large it was out of the cataphyll. And you guys can literally see it's still so, it's not hardened off at all, and she's fairly large already. I want to show you guys how pink the backs are. This is probably the best part of the Hoff X, if that's even what the hybrid is. That's just what it's been called, but it's got this delicious sort of like burgundy abaxial. And this is the first leaf grown in the plant room with like the most minimal cosmetic damage. You can just see that little tiny hole right here, and then some sort of like munched edges down at the bottom, but definitely much better than what we were looking like before in the plant room. Oh my gosh, my camera won't focus because it's so dark out here. Like that's not that's not what we want. This is beautiful. I just wish it was kind of standing up a while ago. I think it's because I've been moving it around. I'm trying to show you the leaf without destroying it, but this is honestly just proof that you don't need high humidity to grow anthuriums. It just takes a while to sort of get acclimatized. Like for me, not all of them have been acclimatized yet. Like maybe only 50% of them, or maybe even 40% have been acclimatized, and it's, you know, we're approaching on a year that they've been out there already. So if you are thinking about growing your anthuriums outside of a greenhouse, just keep in mind it's not going to be like an overnight thing. They're going to be fine probably for the first month or two, and then it'll probably get worse, and then it'll get better. So I think right now we're still sort of in limbo, but I'm definitely seeing the silver lining now. So anyway, that is it for all of the plants that I felt like had a really good glow up this year. I'm hoping that next year we can feature some that are newer acquisitions, like some of my plants from Amanda, some of my newer acquisitions from Lauren. Like a lot of those are growing so well, but I didn't want to include it because I really have not had it like the majority of this year. All of these plants that I'm showing you, I've pretty much had all year, and even way before that, with the exception of the Jose Buono. It was really nice being able to stroll down memory lane, and if there is anything I've learned from putting this video together, it's that I need to do a better job of documenting my plants. I need to be more organized documenting my plants. A lot of the photos that I showed you were from my Instagram because it's easier to reference that way. But I feel like I just need to be taking more constant photos and videos so that I have more, not evidence, but just more things to show you guys in terms of like root growth or just leaf growth in general. So 2023, I'm going to make it a priority of mine to, number one, take just more photos of my plants, and I think you guys should too, because it's so fun to kind of see how far they've come. And then also to, what was the other one? Document my plants and what? Oh, organize my photos better, because I have like 15,000 photos on this phone, and it's all a cluster. It's all just madness. So anyway, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up because it helps us a lot on YouTube. I appreciate you guys being here so much, and I will see you in the next one.